Welcome to Really Raha, the podcast for coaches and creators who want to build luxury brands without burning out. I'm Raha, business energetics coach, PhD student, and sponsored skateboarder. I went from serving tables and hustling every client to building six-figure systems and offers that sell in my sleep. Here we talk all things raw when it comes to business strategy, nervous system regulation, and stepping into your goddess frequency with tangible, actionable steps to help you scale to consistent 10K plus months. If you're here, you know freedom is your birthright. Let's get into it. Welcome back. We are here, episode 8. And if you listened to last week's episode where I talked to you about feminine sales and diving into feminine strategy and how to lead a high-ticket sales conversation on a discovery call, you better grab a pen and paper because we are getting into it today. I am taking you through my sales framework for signing high-ticket clients with a feminine strategy. And we're going to do this by going phase by phase. And as I mentioned, and as you'll hear me mention, the feminine strategy that I teach, I am not teaching you about questions. Yes, of course, I'm going to give you questions and ideas of what you can ask to fulfill certain outcomes. That is the biggest difference here. In order for us to go layers deep, in order for us to have a nice, polished call that doesn't need to go over an hour and a half, 2 hours, it's nice and succinct without the fluff while still checking the boxes for the framework of each outcome. So this is for you if you have been wanting a strategy to show up on your discovery calls in a more feminine layered approach where you can show up with that confidence. So instead of getting that discovery call booked and immediately rushing into panic in your body of, oh my God, how am I going to show up for this? Am I ready? This is going to alleviate all of that anxiety, all of that unknown uncertainty. I want to give you my exact framework, A to Z. So before we even do a future episode on what a mock call will look like, we need to have this framework first. So I'm going to get straight into it. Get your notes. We are really going to be getting into the details of how to lead a sales call, discovery call, alignment call, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this is an 8-phase call. I'm going to go through each phase first, and then I'm going to focus on each one and talk to you about the outcomes that we are collecting from each phase. R, resonate with a warm connection. A, audit their current process and why it hasn't been working. D, diagnose and impact the root problem beneath the symptoms. I, illuminate their limiting beliefs and identify what the objection is going to be at the end. A, align the program according to their buying values like a white glove fit. N, nova their vision, amplify their energy, and help them see themselves in full brightness. C, contrast against the cost of inaction. And E, extend a custom invitation into your program. Okay, so let's go phase by phase. We're going to jump right in. R, resonate. This is phase 1. So we're going to be collecting 3 outcomes from this. This is the very first phase. They're getting on the call. This isn't chit chat back and forth, talking about each other's day. This is getting straight to it. We are collecting 3 outcomes from this phase. Desired outcome, what they want out of what you offer, the tangible problem, a problem that your offer solves, and the experience. What experience shaped them, needing help with that specifically. So there are questions tailored to get those outcomes from this first phase. This isn't about asking questions just to ask questions. This is about you knowing your target avatar already on the call. You already know what their desired outcome, tangible problem, and experience is. You know what they're going to say before they say it so that you can tailor your questions so that they can get those outcomes. And when you get those outcomes by asking those questions, we move on to the next phase, which is audit. So what process are they currently using that's creating their experience? So what are they using for the thing that they need help with that's causing them to need help with it? And then you want to see how long they've been using it that way.
So I'm going to start giving you tangible examples here. So for me, my client, my avatar, they're coming on because they need help with sales. They need help with leading a sales call. They want to have that authority, that leadership, so that they know exactly how to make it predictable for them, how they can show up with that confidence. Because I know the confidence is that desired outcome, what they really want. They want to feel confident showing up on these calls. The coaches, the holistic healers, whoever it may be. So for the audit section, I'm going to ask questions around like what script, what framework are you using that's causing you to feel lost in reframing objections? So that's how I tailor my question to get that outcome. And the purpose of audit is for them to realize the current process that they're using is not working, because that's what got them onto your call in the first place. So this section, this phase is mostly for them to say out loud, okay, this is what I've been using and it's not working. And that gives you leverage to be able to move into the next phase with more impact. Because this next phase, this is where we really go layers deep. Diagnose. 3 outcomes here. What is the problem? We need to get a tangible problem. We need to get them to high awareness around what the tangible problem is. What is the cause of the problem? So this also drives the awareness. If they know the cause, great. A lot of people may not know the cause. So by you asking, what process are you using, then you can build doubt with this question of, have you considered that the reason you're struggling with reframing objections is because you're not pre-handling. You're not illuminating their limiting beliefs before you get to the end. So by the time you get to the end, you really have to go hard in the paint. And then they would say, pre-handle? No, I don't know what that means. I don't have anything in place for pre-handling. So that's driving up awareness. So you're diagnosing in this phase. And then what happens if they don't fix it? So we really need to drive impact questions here, because what is actually going to constitute change in somebody? What is going to make them buy? Driving urgency. Because it can be very easy to kick the can down the road. Yeah, I'll just do it next week. I'll do it next month. And then what happens? A year goes by and the resolution you set at the beginning of 2025, here we are almost at 2026, and nothing's been done. So once again, it is your job as the leader to drive that urgency by asking specific impact questions. So they realize, okay, no more fun and games. I'm here. I'm ready. Let's do this right now. This is so important. We cannot skip this. And also too, this doesn't mean just one question for each section. This means being able to ask enough to get the layers and the impact, or get the cause, or get the doubt that you need to before moving on. This isn't just checking the box. So there's a gradient to each box. Otherwise, we have an upstream problem. If we don't ask hard enough impact questions, we're going to get to the end of the call and there's not enough urgency for them to make a decision. So this is extremely critical that when we are checking these boxes for the outcome, we're asking enough questions to really get those layers deep. That's what differentiates this from the masculine approach. This is making it come from them. You're asking guiding questions to which you already know the answers to, because you know your avatar, to get the outcomes you need, for them to say these things out loud that are genuine and authentic, so that they can say goodbye to the pattern that's been keeping them stuck for good. So from diagnose, we go into illuminate. Now, this is a section that you don't see with other sales coaches teaching this. Because the reason why I don't need to go so hard in the paint with reframing objections at the end of the call is because I've already pre-handled it here. I've already illuminated their limiting beliefs to figure out what this person has done in the past to solve the issue that they have. That's the first outcome. This will uncover the objection at the end of the call. So that's the goal here. Second outcome. By figuring out what they've done in the past or what they haven't done in the past, you will see what you need to get them over as far as limiting beliefs of what's kept them stuck. For example, have you been out there to get less objections, or what have you invested as far as advanced training goes so that you can reframe objections in a more confident way? No, I really haven't done anything. I haven't invested in anything. Okay, what slowed you down? Bam. Limiting belief will come out right there, 2 layers deep. Because what's most often going to come up here? Well, I didn't really have the money. That's not the real objection. So this is where most coaches stop, but we're going to go one layer deeper. We're going to reframe that limiting belief right then and there of, is it really about the resources we have, or is it about how resourceful we can get? Go through that whole path. And then, so what prevented you from getting resourceful? Then the true objection comes out right there. Well, I really thought I could do it on my own. Bam. So now we reframe right here in the illuminate section and get them to see that this is the belief that's kept them in the same cycle, feeling that they could do it on their own. Because if you get to the end of the call and you don't pre-handle this right here, you're going to get a DIY objection at the very end. Well, you know what? I think I'm just going to try to do this on my own and see if I can keep figuring it out. But now that you've pre-handled it, back when you had that trust, before you present the offer, you can say, well, remember earlier when we were talking about shifting that philosophy and you got their commitment and everything? So you get to have that conversation. After you say that, they're like, yes, okay. You don't have to go as hard in the paint here because you've illuminated their limiting beliefs and you already got their commitment. Outcome 3. So in the illuminate phase, what have they done to solve the issue in the past? Uncover what the objection is going to be and get the commitment from them to use the philosophy of their highest self. And when you collect those 3 outcomes, it's going to be so much easier at the end, so much more aligned, so much more free to shift that philosophy because you've already done the work in this phase. And then align. This is where you identify 3 buying values, which is the what and the how of what they need in a mentorship program so that they feel like the value is there. Now, this section also gets skipped. But if you do this section and you do it right, you will not get a value objection at the end of the call. Impossible. Because you're aligning what they need and then putting that in your presentation at the end when you extend it. So, for example, you could ask, what do you feel like you would really need in learning advanced skills for sales so that you could get to those 20K months? Well, I feel like I would need to really understand how to reframe objections on a more tangible level. Great. What do you mean by what? Get even deeper. I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're needing. So get that what 2 layers deep and then say, what are you looking for specifically in terms of possible support with how you want to reframe objections? Well, I really want someone to get in there with me. I want someone looking at my sales calls and getting reviews and guidance. I want that group support. Now you've understood what they want and how they want it. The buying value is both. So you do that 3 times with 3 whats and 3 hows. So by the time you get to the end and you're doing the presentation, which we'll get to, it'll feel like that white glove fit. It'll feel like you tailored it to exactly what they need. And you already know that they're your avatar and that you can help them. You are simply using their words and how you already can help them to make it feel even more of a, yes, this was made for me. You read my mind. This is exactly what I need. Obviously, we're not going to offer things that someone doesn't want, but they got on the call and you've already determined whether or not you can help them with a tangible problem back in the resonate section. Okay? So let's move on to Nova. I had fun with this word. Me and Mike were trying to find the best N here because Nova, this is where you're amplifying where they want to be. Nova their vision, amplify their energy, help them see themselves to where they want to go. Because if you ask an overweight person at baseline, what's it like being overweight? Yeah, I guess it's not great. You're not getting like a real answer because it's baseline. So in the Nova section, there's 4 outcomes here. We're collecting their desired outcome. Again, we're bringing it back here. We're getting their tangible lifestyle outcome. We're getting their emotional outcome and their emotional gap and time. The reason why is we're taking them where they really want to be, their highest self, so that they can get real perspective on their vision. So, for example, just making this more tangible with some questions. Let's see if we could help you with list the buying values and teach you the skills. What difference would you see in your business? Gotcha. How would things be tangibly different? Okay. Being the woman who can scale those 20K months, how else would that make you feel? What would that make you feel on a personal level? Then you're getting that emotional driver. You're getting that emotional outcome. Okay. So if confidence and waking up with predictability and putting your head down on your pillow at night, knowing that you showed up for yourself and that you can get that discovery call booked in and you know how to show up. How do you feel now in comparison to that? There you go. So now you've given them that vision of where they want to go and how they want to feel. And that's going to lead us into the contrast C. So this is the tangible gap. That's the first outcome. And what happens if they never feel the way they want to? This is the cost of inaction. People will not make decisions. People will not take action on an urgency level if they don't see that gap. If you don't widen that gap. And this is where that leadership comes in. Because if you asked someone back in that example, let's say for a fitness coach, at baseline, how does it feel being overweight? Yeah, it sucks. But if you take them up, Nova, their desires, Nova, where they want to go, how would your life be tangibly different? Oh my God, like I can wear my bikini, I can go to the beach, I can finally get the bikini I love. How would you feel? Oh my God, I'd feel so confident. I'd be able to do this, I'd be able to do that. Okay, how's that feel compared to now? Oh, it feels awful. It feels like every day I want to, every day I take action, I can't do it. There it is. There's the gap. But you would not have gotten that gap without creating that up and that down of that reality check of, okay, this is where we are. Let's look at this together. This is the cost of inaction. That's the contrast. So you collect those two outcomes there, and that seamlessly goes right into our last phase, extend. So this is where you grab all of those buying values from earlier and extend the invitation for your presentation and your offer in this phase. So you go through the different pillars, you present it, and you say what the investment is. We're not saying, but there are payment plans, this and that. It's like, no. We're not going to get too much into reframing objections on this call. We could do that in a later call. Or you can come into the revenue room and I have a whole phase on NLP reframing objections, going those layers deep, being able to collect more payments in full, because that gives your potential client more of a buy-in, more skin in the game to say that big yes to themselves. So we can get into that, but that is really, really deep conversations, and I'm building all of that right now too. But in this, these are all the phases of Radiance, taking them through the entire discovery call framework, A to Z, and then being able to reverse engineer, okay, what are the questions that I can ask for my target avatar? Got to know at a core level what their limiting beliefs are, what their tangible problems are, what their emotional outcome is. We need to know these outcomes before you start getting on calls so that you can reverse engineer, and this alone will make your calls more predictable. That simple action step alone, if there's anything you want to take away from this podcast episode, write down your avatar, and you might have a few, put them in buckets. What are their biggest limiting beliefs? What has kept them stuck? What are their biggest problems tangibly? What is their biggest desire? Everything. So that when you are getting on the calls, it's almost like you know exactly how it's going to go. You can see the future. You illuminate their limiting beliefs. You pre-handle anything. You reframe it right then and there. You get to the end, and it's just white glove all the way through. So I hope you took some notes. And if you have any questions, I'll also drop my reframe guide in the show notes. If you haven't already gotten it, oh, this is juicy. This is literally, if a free resource can be good enough where the person who made it uses it on their own calls, that's how you know it's good. I literally use this on my own calls. This isn't something that I just threw together or I went surface level. That's not what feminine sales is. That's not what reframing objections is. The feminine way is. This is something that I use myself. So if you have not grabbed it, it is completely free. You'll literally see it and you'll be like, oh my God. And if you don't already know me, I don't gatekeep. I share things on the way. I want you to have so much success. And then if you want more and you want help with implementation, that's what I'm here for. So as you know, the revenue room is being built. It is in beta mode. I've already got a full calendar this week of people wanting to grab the spots for the beta. It's super discounted. You get one-on-one support with me that no one will ever get. This is a group program, and I'm building it module by module, phase by phase, while you're in it on the ground floor, getting feedback from you, getting it validated. This is the time to come in and to really walk through your sales process every step of the way, DM setting, what it's like when someone books a call, what your application questions are, everything. That's what we're doing inside. And there's 5 calls a week. Sales and nervous system strategy is 1. DM setting with Mike, my partner, who has set almost $1 million of sales from the DMs with our DM framework that I'm teaching you. He's going to be leading that call every week. And then we also have our 3rd call, which is the data and back end. So any spreadsheet questions, SOPs, KPIs, we're giving you all of our stuff so you can track all of your calls so that you can replicate what's working, because we're not reinventing the wheel every time and we're handing everything to you. Mike is also the spreadsheet genius, so we'll be on that call as well. And then there's going to be 2 guided mock calls a week so that you can practice with the other students in the group, with me guiding you so that you're going through the full discovery call, full framework, with me pausing and giving you guidance so that you can turn theory into practice. Because we're not just studying and reading, we're actually implementing. And this is your hub. This is the community. This is the space to be. It is launching next month. So I'll drop the link for that as well so that you can book your call to even see if it's an aligned fit. If it's not, I'm going to tell you. If you know me, I let you know if this isn't something that's going to benefit you. My clients see results. I'm not going to ruin my streak. So it really is completely risk-free. Oh, and I forgot to mention the most important part. This is my first offer that I am giving you and offering a guarantee. So if in the 3 months of Revenue Room, you don't get an ROI, you get to stay in the program until you do. Not a lot of people can say that, but that's how confident I am in this. And I know what it's done for me. I know what it's done for my clients. So this is literally risk-free. It's a guarantee. Stay in the program until you get your return on your investment of what you invested in this program. That's it. It's a no-brainer. And the beta also makes it a no-brainer because it's at a super discount and you get to have one-on-one support with me that no one else will get. So all the details, I'm going to drop them in the show notes. You got me, you got Mike, you got us in your corner, you got a team right by your side so that you can scale your business, get past those 5K plateaus, get into that 10, 20K, 25K, and just have that confidence so that you can enjoy when your discovery calls get booked, so that you can stay in the butterflies, stay in the expansion instead of immediately feeling that knot. I want you to get rid of the knot. I want you to feel like a baddie on your calls. I want you to feel like you know exactly how it's going to go. I want you to feel like a rock star. So thank you for tuning in. Please, as always, if you want to restory this on your Instagram, tag me. I'll restory it. I want to see what you're doing when you're listening to it. I want to see what your vibe is like. I want to get to know you. If you just want to slide into my DMs and say hi or tell me your biggest breakthrough, I want to talk to you. I want to see where you are. So I'll see you next week. I love you and have a wonderful rest of your day.
If this episode resonated with you in any way, if something clicked, expanded, or shifted for you, I'd love for you to share it and tag me on Instagram @RadiantRahaf so I can celebrate your breakthroughs with you. And if you haven't already, subscribe and leave a 5-star review so more high-level coaches like you can find this space. Thank you for being a part of this community. I love you, and I'll see you next Tuesday.